Everybody will have opinions of what you should do and what they think you should do. I'm going to give you the shit sandwich of entrepreneurship because there is a dark side to what we do. But the good news is I think that the bright side and the positives really outweigh the negatives or the challenges. Welcome to Phys with me, Aaron King, a podcast for exercise physiologists and health professionals wanting to grow and scale in business. Now, something that people don't talk about in entrepreneurship, but it's really important to address so people know what they're getting into, is the dark side of entrepreneurship. So today I'm going to give you the shit sandwich of entrepreneurship because there is a dark side to what we do. But the good news is I think that the bright side and the positives really outweigh the negatives or the challenges, but it's probably important to address so people can really understand what they're getting themselves into and what everyone needs to do and what everyone will experience, and understanding that it is the same regardless of what industry. The challenges remain the same across entrepreneurship, across business. It's just the mode of how it comes about might differ, but the challenges, both financial, personal, professional, and the type of understanding that you need, and then the benefits all remain the same. And that's why you can learn of people within your industry and also people outside your industry, because the challenges remain all the same. So the first one is the risk. So today is the shit sandwich, where we start with the bright side to understand that there is a bright side to it. And if you keep working at it and work through the shit sandwich, then you'll come out the other side much better. But it is a roller coaster on the journey, but it is well worth the effort if you stick through it. And that's probably why a lot of businesses don't last the first couple of years, is because it's really hard to work through that. And not everybody makes it, not everyone wants to, and it's challenging and it affects a number of areas of your life. But if you keep working at it, the bright side is much clearer, much better. And also there are ways to really mitigate the dark side of that. And I'll address that in a moment. So the first one is the risk. So the dark side of entrepreneurship, this is my top things that we need to address. So the risk, both financial, personal, and professional, there is a real risk involved. Now, anyone starting a business, you can start from something with minimal dollars and then work your way up. But there's a point where you'll probably jump into higher levels of risk. So if we're using allied health example and starting a clinic, regardless how small or large it is, there is going to be a risk to what you do. Now, the first clinic that I started, I rented out a room in a commercial gym, and that started off at $50 a week and then went to $100 a week, because I worked out a strategy with the owner of the gym to go, look, let's start with the first 12 weeks or something like that at a lower cost, and then it will ramp up over time. And then after a couple of years, new ownership, they still kept me on, but they also looked at market rates, and in my view it was probably higher than market rates, but they knew I was in a position where I didn't really want to just up and transplant my business somewhere else. It was of probably a similar rent agreement to what a personal trainer might pay in a commercial gym. So I was renting a 3x3 room for consulting in a commercial gym, and it worked its way from $50 a week to $300 a week over a couple of years. Now, $300 a week is probably within the sphere of what is probably typical at the moment for personal trainers in a commercial gym chain, where I got to use all the equipment of the facility. And in hindsight, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but at the time it was like, okay, I'm committing to $300 a week for 6 months. And that's a big risk if you're just starting out and you don't have the clients to build up over time. So the risk is the financial first, and knowing what you're getting yourself into and trying to find a way to mitigate the risk to work backwards. So if you're then going from a commercial gym and renting a space for a rent and you're bootstrapping on other people's services, then when you go, if you want to go to an area that you open your own facility, the minimum that you're probably getting anything for, if you've got some decent gym equipment, some rent, things like that, is upwards of $100,000. that you're committing to plus the ongoings. So it could, starting off in a facility, you're probably looking at between $100,000 and $200,000 to start it up. So there's a bit of a risk there, a lot of a risk really, because obviously that's, you look at how many clients that needs to be to get that. So say if you're charging $100 per client and you're looking at $200,000, that's 2,000 clients over the year. Then you divide that by 50 weeks. If you're having a couple of weeks off, you need to see 40 clients at $100 just to break even. Now, there are a number of ways to do that, and you can diversify, but that's probably the dark side. And the light side is the risk that you're willing to take. And it's a personal and professional risk because it doesn't only affect you, it also affects your family and those around you, and the constant stress, and you're on 24 hours a day because you're constantly just thinking about the risk and things that you've committed to. So there's the financial risk of, there's always that in the early stages that, am I going to make it? Am I not? What are we going to do if I don't? Not really having a plan B and just having to push through plan A. So taking the risk to begin with. And that's why some people from the outside will say, oh, look, the owner of a business is just doing this, and look, they're doing well for themselves. But they're the ones that in the first 5 years, maybe more, maybe less, have taken the higher levels of risk and put their own personal life, own financial. Sometimes they do have a house or something like that, and then you'll mortgage your house just to pay for the business startup. So there are a number of ways to do it. You might loan off your parents, off the bank, off somebody or something, or you might need to start from scratch if you can't do any of those things. But the risk that you take is quite high, and it does affect everybody around you as well. It's going to affect your family if you have a family when you're starting a business, because in the early stages, you might be needing to work 100 hours, 80 hours, 60 hours, or whatever it may be to get it off the ground, to make sure that you can cover bases. Because as the owner of a business, you don't have the same checks in place to make sure that you're covered as an employee does. Like, there's a minimum wage that as the owner, you don't need to, it doesn't cover you. So you could pay yourself $5 an hour or not at all for the first 6 months, 12 months, because that's all you can afford. If you can afford that, and it's going to be a challenge, but no one's going to tell you that you need to pay yourself more, because there is none of those protections in place in the same way that there are employee protections. So you take all the risk, but it is worth it in the end. So your family can be affected. I'm starting to gain some time back now, a number of years after, but in the early stages, when my kids were born, I was back at work within 48 hours because there was no alternative to me doing that. Now, that's absolutely not ideal, and I look back and I wish I did it differently, absolutely. But at the time, that was just what I needed to do to make sure that the business operated, because it wasn't in a position to operate without me at that time. And even now, I still think that it probably could be better to operate better without me. And that's part of the business development, that you get there. And we are almost there, but just like anything, one of the dark sides is you never feel satisfied. So even if on the outside you're like, yeah, it's all set up, it's turnkey, it's all great, and it probably is, but in my mind, I'm sort of never really satisfied. I always want to do better. So the risk to your family, I've missed out on some things for the kids and things for the family because I've had to be at work where I couldn't just take leave or couldn't do that. So although people from the outside will look and say, look, you can just work whenever you want, you can take time off whenever you want because you're the owner, but it actually works the opposite. You probably work as hard, or harder rather, the hardest, for the lowest pay for a number of years, and that's just how it is. But again, there is a bright side at the end of that as well, which I'll get to in a moment. You will end up becoming lonely. So number 2 is you will end up becoming lonely because you don't often have people around you that really understand what you're going through, and you'll be quite misunderstood because you'll start going in a direction and you'll have, I guess there's so many things going on in your mind, in your brain, and you're focusing on a lot of balls up in the air, a lot of new shiny things, and you might not always be a coherent person, and you might always not be present, especially in those early stages when you don't have those people in your business that can take on that role for you. Moving on to number 3, is it luck or hard work? Like when our business got through the waves of COVID, when there was a lot of lockdowns and things like that, and we're in Western Sydney, so the lockdowns were some of the highest outside of Melbourne. So outside of Melbourne, probably Western Sydney was the second most affected area in Australia, I think. And I got told quite a bit, oh, you're lucky that you got through. And to be honest, it felt really offensive because those around didn't understand that the extreme levels of stress that I went through, and I probably never worked harder than that. And that's saying something, because getting a business off the ground is hard work if you're doing it from scratch without any help. And I mean without any help, without any other business help, like you're not franchising or anything like that, where you get all of those things for you. Now, that's part of what you can do. You can go down the franchising route and purchase some support and purchase something that's already done, and you'll probably get to year 3 or 4 of the business straight away from the moment of opening, and there are a lot of benefits to that, but you need to find the right opportunity depending upon your industry. So I got told quite a lot, oh, you're just lucky that you got through. And as I said, it's pretty offensive. I go, no, it was absolutely hard work. People will think that you're lucky when it is all your hard work. And that applies to many public figures. Like if you look at athletes, oh, they got natural talent. But to get to the elite at anything, whether it's business or whether it's sport or whether it's any area, yes, there is maybe some level of privilege. Like some people that are able to finance some businesses might be able to do it quicker and get to a later phase of business because they have support around them. Other people, it's going to take longer. It can be done regardless where you're at, depending upon the business, but it might take longer for those that don't have that financial, professional, and just personal support around them. So being told, look, it's luck, and it's absolutely not. There is some element of luck in some areas of business, but it's basically hard work and opportunity that determines your luck. You might be in the right place at the right time, but you've put yourself there through hard work. So with an elite athlete, yes, they might have a genetic advantage, some sort of talent around that where they can acquire the skills for some sort of sport or some sort of industry easier than others. But then to get to the elite levels in business or sport, you then need to apply it and have the right mindset for that. Now, moving on to number 5, because I addressed the number 4 a bit, that the family is affected, the kids are born, so they've got risk, being lonely. Is it lucky or hard work? Family being affected. Number 5 is tall poppy syndrome. In Australia, there is, and I don't like it, if you're seen to be doing anything well, if you're confident, I wouldn't even say it's arrogance for most people, because it's confidence. Absolutely. You just need to be confident to do anything useful in life, and it's important. Confidence is you feel like you have the knowledge and you are doing the work, and then you're confident in what you're doing, because confidence makes a big difference. But in Australia specifically, and potentially in the UK and some other areas, it is more prominent. It's tall poppy syndrome. So people have a go at you. People will say things to you purely because of your position, especially if you're a small business. People will consider you in the same way as a big faceless corporate business. We're in a small business. Whether clients come in, clients don't, people buy your product, people don't. So it affects you and your person and everybody around you, and how much you can pay yourself at the end of the day when you're in those earlier stages. But people from the outside will take advantage of you, or attempt to take advantage of you in a small business, because they'll just consider everyone as, oh, you're a business owner, you're flying high, when they don't realize that if they don't respect their appointment, they don't respect your time, then they might be taking away things from your kids in that sense of the word. Number 6, everybody will have opinions of what you should do and what they think you should do, because at the end of the day, no one really cares about you. Everybody cares about themselves, and that's fine. But nobody cares about the business owner. And then you might even become less of a people person because of the tall poppy syndrome, and that everyone has opinions on what you should do and what they think you should do. And even if it's different, but my advice is you should just really listen to the people around you that are important, that you can trust, that have been there before and have some sort of educated example, if it's just something randomly thrown out, they don't realize that you've got to take into consideration the finances, the family, maybe some employees, maybe what you're offering. Does it go outside of your scope? What is your culture of the business like? And all of these things. So you might over time become less of a people person because you're so caught up in just trying to build the business, just trying to grow it, just trying to advance it. And when you do see people, your mind is not always in it, and you're better off setting other people in place to be the front-facing part of your business and begin to move behind the scenes sooner rather than later, if it's possible. But absolutely in the first few years, you're probably going to have to do both, and that's just how it is, and that's okay. Because there are unicorn examples of, within a super short space of time, people move up and they become the CEO and they're the owner. You're technically the owner and the CEO, but you've still given yourself a job in the first few years. At least you don't have a business yet. Number 7, you won't really have any boundaries, especially in today's age. You need to set boundaries, and it's important just to say no to some things. But at the end of the day, people won't consider that you have boundaries. Like if I'm not at work, and I'm here 6 days a week, if I'm not here, I'll get contacted on any of my personal social profiles is, oh, I need to know this. Can I have this? Email, social media, message, text message, calling, whatever it is. People say, oh, they're not here at the moment, so I need to contact them. So they'll let me know instead of going through the appropriate channels, especially if you're in a small business and you're the front of the business. People will always want you as the owner, at least in the earlier stages, even if you're not the best person for the job. Now, I get this quite a bit. People want to see me and want me to help them. And in certain areas, I'm not the best person to see for certain conditions, for certain injuries, because I'm focused on supporting the team, developing the culture, developing the framework, and growing the business to then have my team help those. And that's actually going to be a better structure, and the clients are going to get a better outcome, better support from those that care. It's not to say that the owner doesn't care, but it's just because if we're in a session, we're doing things, we've got a lot of things in the back of our mind that we're thinking about. So sometimes we're present physically, but not always mentally. And that applies to the family. Sometimes I go off and I'm there, but I'm thinking about something related to business, to entrepreneurship, to something we need to do, something we need to develop, something that we're in the middle of working on. And I don't like it, but it's just the reality of what happens. And that's fairly unfortunate. And then moving on to number 8, the hours. As I mentioned before, you don't have set hours often. You'll be 24 hours is your work. And that goes into number 9 as well, because you never turn off and you're never satisfied. So number 8 and number 9 are somewhat together, because you'll take all the risk, you'll do all the hours, but I am saying this with the view that it is absolutely worth it in the end, because you're delaying short-term gratification for the long-term goals. And that's what you need to remember when you're doing these things, and it becomes really tough. You do need to assess what you're doing and saying, is this tough because I'm actually doing the wrong thing? Or is it tough just because it's tough to do and not everyone wants to do it, and I'm doing something that's innovative or different or advancing my cause, the cause of people around me, and I'm really driving something more important? Now you've just got to decide whether that's the case. So you'll never turn off. You'll always be on from the moment you woke up to the moment you go to sleep. And sometimes you'll dream about it, if I'm honest. Like I said, you have no boundaries, not just yourself, but other people will contact you as if you have no boundaries. And you'll probably never be satisfied because you're always trying to grow something bigger than yourself. You definitely want to be grateful, but I don't know if you ever want to just be satisfied and sit back. I don't know the answer to that at this moment, but it's important just to ensure that you do celebrate your wins and celebrate the things that you're doing, but it's okay not to be satisfied. And if I'm honest, I don't feel like I've ever felt satisfied to date, which is tough to say, but when you're driving something bigger than yourself, it tends to happen that way. Although other people from the outside will say, oh, absolutely, it's doing really well, really successful, started from the ground up, worked to something bigger and is still going. That would define success from the outside. But internally, it comes back to, well, there's probably a bit of an imposter syndrome where you don't feel like you're a full-grown adult responsible for the things that you're doing, but it's just part of the mindset that you're never satisfied. And that's something that you need to get used to, that you always want more, you always want growth, you always want development, you always want to build something, bigger, better, faster. And that's just how it is. And it will take you twice as long and cost twice as much as what you thought, because there are some failings along the way. And that comes down to number 10. So you will fail, especially if you're doing your own thing, but failure isn't fatal. Everybody in business has failures along the way, especially if you're doing your own thing and you're not jumping onto an appropriate franchise that fits what you want to do as well. Because when you're jumping onto a franchise, now there are a lot of negatives around franchises in the news and things like that, with some of those really big corporates that are in the bigger shopping centers and things like that. And they've had some really negative news around that. But if you're looking at a different kind of franchise, an allied health franchise, then yes, they might cost a little bit more to start, but you're almost getting the product, you're getting the product a few years down the line, and you might be starting at year 3. And within the first 12 months, if you do the things that you're told to do and that are set up and you should be doing it, then you will basically turn a profit within that first year, because there are the things set up to show, okay, there's the master franchise, this is set up, this is how it's set up, this is why it works, this is the goals that we need to reach, and this is how to reach them, because it's been a number of years of learning from the master franchise to then transplant into the new turnkey business. So it might be more expensive, but in my view, you'd rather have 90% of something successful than 100% of something that's not successful. Because at the end of the day, it's not so much of how much you outlay, it's about your return on investment. And return doesn't just mean financial. That's absolutely important, because without finances, you can't do anything. And that's part of the allied health model as well, is we don't get in it to really grow ourselves and our bank account, but it's absolutely important to focus on the finances of a business, because without cash flow, without cash in the bank, you can't actually do anything. Because with the COVID example, if that's taught us anything, within a split second, you can basically lose a couple of months of income, and to a business that is doing really well, that can be fatal. So you want to make sure that you've got some cash in the bank for those rainy days, so to speak, because with cash, you can do the things that you set out to do. So if you focus on doing the things, doing it well, and having a goal to help X number of people, you need money to help X number of people. So work backwards. So money's not the goal, but money's important to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve, even if they're not financial goals. So you'll fail less by learning off others and getting a support network around you, whether that's from franchising or whether that's from doing your own thing, but using mentors and using other people that you're better off paying money for, because you're more likely to actually do the thing if you pay money. And at the end of the day, you'll get your return on investment if you do the thing. So that's important to note. It's not how much you're outlaying, it's what's your return. And that's probably a big part in business. It's important to know that you will fail in some areas. And I've probably bought the wrong thing, hired the wrong people, worked with the wrong people, networked with the wrong people, and outlaid too much money that has not given a return, or purchased a product that didn't work, and a number of other areas, but they've never been fatal. I wish I knew then what I knew now. But as long as I'm learning and going, okay, well, I won't do it that way again, I would do it a different way moving forward. And that's the important thing to realize, that you will fail, but you need to learn. And then when you grow from those learnings, and you'll fail less if you have mentors around you and have a support network around you that's been there and done that. So that's really the dark side of entrepreneurship. It's the risk that you take. It's that you'll be lonely. It's that you'll get called lucky when it's absolutely not luck. That your family will be affected. People will speak to you like they've got tall poppy syndrome. Everyone will have opinions of you. You'll have no boundaries. The hours and the risk, you'll never turn off, and you will fail. but there is an absolute bright side to what you do moving forward. Listen out for part 2 for that.